Parents tell me all the time, my child just needs better time management. Bought them a planner, but they just won't use it. And every time I have to hit pause. Time management really isn't the first skill we should be teaching students. In fact, if a student can't estimate time, feel the passage of time, or tell time, giving them a planner is like handing a child a calculator before they've even learned addition. A typical high school student can only see 2 days to 3 weeks into the future. So when teachers assign projects that aren't due for like 2 or 3 months, that's often way beyond what their brain is able to conceptualize. What's interesting is that only about 30 years ago, researchers believed that time management alone predicted workplace success. Today, we know that it's much more complicated than that because work and the way our brain interacts with information has changed drastically. In this video, I want to separate 3 ideas that often get lumped together: time perception, time management, and time blindness. They're all related, but they are not the same thing. Time management is actually one of the most advanced executive functioning skills. It depends on several more foundational skills in order to be fully realized: telling time, estimating time, understanding how long a task will take, and feeling the passage of time are just a few foundational skills that a student's going to need before they can fully manage their time on their own. And if those skills aren't in place, a planner's not going to do much help. And that brings us to time perception. Time perception is simply how we experience time passing. Some people naturally feel 5 minutes, and others don't. Our emotions can change how time feels. Our attention can change how time feels. Even culture can influence how time feels. And certain neurological conditions can change it too. This doesn't mean that students shouldn't learn responsibility. It means we need to teach the skills that make responsibility possible. Some of what I mentioned probably sounds like time blindness. So let's define that term too. Time blindness is a term that has become much more popular in recent years, and it describes difficulty sensing the passage of time. So it really has to do with our internal clock. That's usually what helps us estimate how much time has passed or how long something will take. Someone might become so absorbed in the project they're working on right in front of them that an hour could really just feel like 10 minutes. Or they may genuinely not know how long a task will take. And that's a very different problem than not caring. I'm sharing all of this because time management isn't a choice. It's a neurological function. A person struggling with time perception will likely also struggle with completing necessary tasks, staying focused, and being prompt. That doesn't make them lazy, irresponsible, or unmotivated. It means that the brain is processing time differently. As I've explained in other videos, executive functioning skills don't develop one at a time. They work together and strengthen one another. Difficulties with time perception often occur alongside challenges with working memory, processing speed, and attention. People with learning disabilities often experience decreased time perception, executive functioning, and time organization. Individuals with ADHD commonly struggle with time perception, estimating time, sequencing time, and reproducing time intervals. And timed tasks can quickly create cognitive overload. Even conditions like depression or bipolar disorder can influence a person's experience of time passing. And I just want to emphasize again, understanding the neurological piece isn't about lowering expectations. It's about choosing strategies that actually match how the brain learns. If you'd like to learn more about how processing speed and working memory fit into all of this, I made separate videos that dive into both topics. But once a student begins to feel time, planning starts to make way more sense. Once a student is able to start feeling time, They will start to make sense of planning because planning asks the brain to compare past experiences, present demands, and future consequences. I think that time management and planning can be taught together, but the feeling of time needs to be taught explicitly. We all experience time differently. And understanding those differences helps students, teachers, families, and everyone build more effective supports. So what do we do for students who struggle with estimating time or telling time? One important skill is situational awareness. And situational awareness is exactly what it sounds like. Using cues from the surrounding environment to understand what is happening and what should happen next. Students begin to pay attention to space, people, objects, and the passage of time around them. And luckily, there are ways to build these skills in children. One strategy I like to try with my clients is observational at its core. We would start by creating a chart where across the top, 4 categories are listed: people, object, space, and time. Then, using pictures or words or both, together we make inferences about those 4 categories, and then we list them into the chart. For example, you can show a picture of a kitchen. Have the student start by pulling out details that helps them know it's a kitchen. So maybe the sink, maybe the refrigerator, maybe a toaster, maybe a coffee machine. Then we would add on another photo of a similar kitchen or a similar environment. Again, I would ask the student to point out the elements that helps them know it's a kitchen. As you get further along, the idea is to get the student to point out details or notice details and clues in the pictures that give us the time of day. Or what other conclusions can we make? In general, this strategy will help students read the room, and then those skills can be transferred to the classroom or into another home environment or into a social environment, like a birthday party. By reading the room, the student will be able to make better transitions. And you'll want to include multiple kinds of images of different familiar places. You could even show different angles of the same classroom or the same kitchen or an airport or a soccer field. So I've got a ton of different kinds of strategies, all that can be individualized to different kinds of students. And I know strategies is probably why you're all here. I've broken my strategies down into younger and older students. For younger students, I recommend using an analog clock. It's an oldie but a goodie. It is a direct way for a child to see the passage of time. There is a connection between time management and working memory. So we can use an analog clock as a way to bridge that gap. Analog clocks make a lot of sense in terms of utilizing a tool that breaks time down into manageable parts. Another way to make this even more recognizable for young children who cannot yet tell time, or older students who never confidently learned how, is to color code tasks and then apply those colors to the clock itself. After coordinating tasks to colors, and then putting those colors on the clock when those tasks are supposed to start and finish, you can use whiteboard markers to color in the glass clock face as a way to time block visually. For example, brushing teeth might be blue, and the student has to do that every morning at 7 a.m. So you could shade in 7 o'clock to 7:05 in blue using an expo marker. Keep that clock in the bathroom so the child knows that when the big hand hits the start of that blue window, they need to start brushing their teeth, and they need to keep going until it hits the end. You could continue this pattern with the whole morning routine. Some families have clocks in multiple parts of their house, in every single room of the house, so the children know what they're supposed to be doing no matter where they are. I've had some families give a child a smaller clock that they have to walk with from room to room. Now, for older students, We can practice estimating time before pretty much any task. Just ask them, how long do you think this will take? And then you set a stopwatch, you do the task, and when you come back, you hit stop. You can place guesses, you can create reward systems around this. Who got the closest? What kind of reward might they get for that? And then in the future, when it comes time to do this task again, the student will know, well, last time I did it, it took me 45 minutes. So I can guess that this will also take 45 minutes. Again, I would recommend timing themselves. See if they beat their record, if that's a worthwhile marker. Over time, students begin to build a more accurate internal sense of time. And then in turn, future planning will be made easier. I have many more strategies on time management, but I think I'll create another video exclusively on those strategies. So to recap, here's what I want you to remember. Time perception is feeling time. Time blindness is when the internal sense of time isn't working reliably. And time management is using that knowledge to plan, organize, and complete a task. And before we can expect students to do any of this, they first have to learn how to experience time. If you're watching this long, thank you. Write in the comments something that resonated with you about time management, perception, blindness, you name it. Is there something you think I missed? Is there a strategy or tool I mentioned that you want to know more about? Or what about a strategy or tool you plan on using inside your home or classroom? For more information about time management skill development and strategies and other facts and tools about executive functioning, please subscribe to my channel.